Yo, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to Wave Talk 101, powered by Ocean View Deep Waves Pomade. I'm your host, Darius, and today we're taking it back to the root. Literally. If you've been brushing like crazy and still not seeing the progress you want, it might be time to check your scalp. Yeah, we're talking about the base, the foundation, because without a healthy scalp, your waves ain't got a chance. So look, I'm gonna keep it real. When I first got into the wave game, I thought it was all about the brush, the pomade, etc., etc. I mean, I was brushing like a madman. Brushing in the morning, at night, in the car, you name it. But my waves look dry, patchy. I mean, they just look rough, not connected at all. I mean, you could just, look at my scalp, look at my hair and just see all the forks and the waves, and I really thought I was doing something. I couldn't figure it out. I mean, one day my barber pulled me to the side and he was like, look, bro, you really not taking care of your scalp. That's why you can't get the wave patterns, that you've been trying to get for so long. I looked at him and I was like, huh? He said, you can't grow a garden in dry dirt. And from that moment on, that kind of stuck with me. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, what is he talking about? I'm washing my hair, I'm using the moisturizers, I'm using the pomades, I'm brushing. My scalp didn't necessarily feel dry, especially after, washing and applying these products to my hair. So that's when it really hit me. I was moisturizing my hair, but it wasn't really touching my scalp the way that it needed to. Like no oil, no scalp massages. I was just brushing, pretty much dead ground. Like my hair was moisturized, but my scalp wasn't. So, eventually I started using natural oils like, tea tree. I think that's how you pronounce it, jojoba or yoyaba. Y'all correct me and let me know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But the jojoba oil, stuff that don't clog up your pores, but still keep the skin underneath, fairly healthy. So while I was using these products, like one of the processes that I would use is, I warm a little oil in my hands, massage it in with my fingertips, real gentle, and like a circular light motion. And I did that from like 3 to 4 times a week. Next thing you know, my hair felt softer, it laid down better, and most importantly, my waves started connecting, which that was a real big surprise because, like I said, I always had waves, from the consistency of brushing and, using the products, tying down my hair. But elite wavers and, those who had, unlocked those elite, wave patterns, the 540, 720s, they could, look at my hair instantly and be like, yeah, I see you, but you still got those forks. So if you're not a waver or like a diehard waver and you're just looking at, things from a surface level, you're just looking at the fact that, hey, yeah, he got nice waves, but not really truly understanding that those waves that people often see often have forks in them and they're not really connected as they should be to form that elite wave pattern. So, essentially, like when your scalp's clean, when it's hydrated, and fed with the right nutrients, your hair's gonna grow better. It's gonna grow stronger. It pretty much listens to the brush more. It does exactly what the brush wants it to do. It does exactly what you want it to do. So you basically have more command of your hair when you're giving it the nutrients and the moisture that it requires in order for you to basically control your hair and the pattern that it's growing in. So a tip that I would provide to you guys is, if your waves feel stubborn or like they just won't lay right, start at the scalp. That's the secret sauce. That's like the first thing that you want to do. Make sure that your scalp is healthy. Make sure that you're feeding it the right nutrients, and it's basically going to pay off in the long run. All right, so let me get into a few tips for better scalp health or overall better scalp health. So I'm gonna run down a quick little checklist right quick that I put together, based on my past experience and, based on my trial and error. So first things first, keep your scalp clean. Wash your hair and your scalp on a regular basis with a sulfate-free shampoo. I know it may seem pretty simple. A lot of people don't really understand what that means when I say keep it clean. You have to wash your hair and your scalp. So a lot of people just do like a quick little, wash routine where they're just, running their fingers through their hair and, they're using the shampoo. They're getting a fairly decent lather, but they're really not cleaning their scalp. So when you're cleaning your scalp, it's only so much that your fingernails can do, or, if, a comb can do. So I would highly suggest that you use like a shampoo brush or a detangler comb, something that can penetrate your hair and get directly on the surface of your scalp. Because a lot of times we may not realize, your hair may feel clean, but your scalp is still dirty from all the product, the buildup, and all the excess from, brushing, the dandruff, the dirt, the lint that gets attached to your scalp. So you want to use a shampoo shower brush, so you can kind of, clean your hair and scalp at the same time. And you can kind of remove like the old scabs, the dandruff, and just the buildup. Overall, it clogs your pores and prevents your hair follicles from coming through your scalp. All right, so our next number 2 on our checklist is oil it right. Oil your scalp right. Use lightweight oils 2 to 3 times a week. So let me give you a pro tip with this. So you don't want to necessarily drench your hair or drench your scalp with all type of essential oils or, any oils that you may think of, whether it's olive oil, coconut oil, jojoba, tea tree, etc. Whatever oil that you're using, you have to pair it with water. Like they say, oil and water don't mix. So you want to basically take a spray bottle or a spray mister, mist your hair, mist your scalp, not drench it with water to where water's dripping from your face, but mist your hair, use a spray bottle, and basically apply the oil generously. And then once you're using that oil or you've applied it to your scalp, you want to massage it in. So that way it's reaching your pores, it's reaching your hair follicles, and it's not just sitting at the surface or, at the top level. It's not just sitting in your hair, it's also reaching your scalp. And another pro tip too, I might add, is that you can do things before you actually, wash your hair, like a hot oil treatment. That's been very efficient for me and very productive in terms of hair growth and, making sure that my scalp is moistured correctly and it's getting the nutrients that it needs. So that's a pro tip. Definitely start implementing hot oil treatments into your washing regimen. All right, so third up on our list is massage often. So I kind of hit on this already, but basically you want to take your fingertips and massage the oil into your scalp, into your hair. It increases the blood flow and it helps your hair grow at the same time. So this is important because, as wavers, we're often brushing our hair a lot, and if you're not using the right brush or if you're brushing too excessively, it can lead to hair loss, depending on the firmness of the bristles, as well as, how much pressure you're applying to your scalp when you're brushing your hair, like whether or not you're pulling or being too rough. Like you want to apply, definitely generous pressure, but you don't want to be over excessive to where, your scalp feels sore or, your scalp becomes tender to touch because you're just being too rough with brushing. All right, so our fourth point is going to be hydrate. This is one of those tips, and I honestly think it should be, if not number 1, number 2 on the list, is because a lot of people don't necessarily get enough water on a day-to-day basis. I think I read somewhere some time back that, average person should drink anywhere, I think it's like, 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. And I know sometimes that can be difficult because, we're either working or, some of us have desk jobs. Some of us, maybe in school or classes or what have you. But getting a adequate amount of water on a day-to-day basis will definitely help you with your 360 wave journey. So for myself personally, a little thing that I like to do, I have like a little water container that I keep with me, whether I'm like working out or just sitting at the desk behind a computer or, just out and about moving around with the family or what have you. I always keep that water with me because, I have to get that daily water intake, and whenever I don't, I feel dehydrated. I'm off my game. I can't think clearly. So I would say definitely make sure that you're incorporating water in your 360 wave journey. All right. So let's move on to number 5. So avoid buildup. By all means, avoid buildup. Buildup is one of those things that's going to pretty much prevent your hair growth and it's going to mess up your wave pattern. Too much product causes buildup. So if you're just, for example, you get done washing your hair, first thing that you do, you slap in a pomade or slap in a wave grease, you brush your hair, tie your hair down. Maybe like a day, you go to the gym, work out following morning, following afternoon, whatever. You notice that the hold isn't really there like how it was when you first, applied the product to your hair. So you apply more, and then that process just keeps repeating itself day after day. So by the end of the week or whatever cadence that you typically decide to wash your hair at, you have all this product in your hair, and over that time span, your hair hasn't been able to breathe properly. It hasn't had any significant growth, or it hasn't been able to basically be healthy. And, in a nutshell, over that time span that you kept adding more product on top of product on top of product, you're just basically caking up your scalp and layering up the product that's being combined with dirt, oil, and sweat, salt, from the sweat, and, so it's just basically making an unhealthy ground for your waves. So definitely make sure that you get rid of excess and build up and avoid it as much as possible. I know you can't avoid it in its entirety, but there are things that you can do to prevent it. All right, so look, in a nutshell, overall, you don't want to skip the root work. Starting at the scalp, making sure that your scalp is healthy, it's going to help your waves. Like, bottom line, it's like the most important part of 360 waving, or whatever wave pattern is your favorite, whether it's 180, 540, 720, 360, whatever. You have to start at the scalp, because if your scalp isn't healthy, your hair isn't healthy. Look, so take care of it, and your waves will thank you. That's it for today's episode of Wave Talk 101. Make sure you follow, share, and tap in with us at Ocean View Deep Waves Pomade or Ocean View Deep at Ocean View Brand on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Just check out our content. We're always providing pro tips, tutorials, how to use our products, just the latest and greatest in the 60 wave hair care space. Until next time, stay brushed up, stay hydrated, and as always, stay wavy. Peace.